Orlando has the Celtics seeing ghosts, but I think there's plenty of optimism for a strong finish to this series. We're going to review it with a crossover Locked On Celtics, Locked On Magic podcast right now.
Yup. Being down, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Jrue to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jayson, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Your team's the Boston Celtics. I cover the Boston Celtics for you Monday through Friday, bonus podcasts on the weekends. So make sure you're subscribed to watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. Fight those Magic fans who are in there occupying that space. They are in there. They're infesting this comment section. So you got to get in there and fight them for me. I'm John Karalis. I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years. I'm doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Plus, I've written a couple of books on the Celtics. Today's show is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Go ahead and turn your TV into an Xbox. No console needed. Head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Today, we're learning more about the series as it stands 3-1. How do we feel about this? Where does it compare? How does it compare to how we expected the series to go? Some optimism, some pessimism, and why I think the Celtics are seeing ghosts. It's all right now with a crossover podcast with Locked On Magic host Philip Rossman-Reich. And we're back in the 617, so we're ready to rock and roll here. So Philip Rossman-Reich, what's your feeling here as the Celtics? Look, it's a 3-1 Celtics lead. It's been a hard-fought 3-1 Celtics lead. I know my reasons for optimism and pessimism are at the bottom of the list here on the YouTube rundown, but I got to think that coming out of this so far, I know Orlando Magic fans, you want to win, obviously, but you got to feel good about how hard you're pushing the Celtics.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, looking at this series, you understand how difficult a challenge the Celtics are. I mean, Jamal Mosley has said on several occasions, this is a championship team. And maybe that's setting expectations the way they need to be set, just like kind of understating how difficult the challenge is facing this Celtics team and all the weapons that they have, and just how the Magic have to, even when they won, they had to play perfect. They had to play really well. Boston, I think the TNT guy said this, Boston had to make the mistakes to allow Orlando to win.
Yeah.
But knowing how difficult this series was going to be, because it is still a 2-7, it's a 60 win team going up against a 41-41 team. The biggest thing I wanted to exit this series with, if the Magic weren't going to win, was just knowing that Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner can play well in a playoff series against an elite defense like Boston's. For Paolo, it was, I wanted confirmation that last year, averaging 27 points per game against the Cavs in a 7-game series wasn't just he did it against the Cavs. It's something he's going to do every series of his career at this point. Now, that should be the expectation. He will be able to pick apart, dissect elite defenses when everything is geared against him. For Franz Wagner, it was a little bit about redemption and about saying, okay, he had an up and down playoff series last year against Cleveland. We don't need to get into the Game 7 stuff as much, but I wanted to see him be able to do what he's doing now, just be able to consistently score and find his spots again against an elite defensive team. I think we've focused so much on Orlando being an elite defensive team. We forget Boston's also a top 5 defense. And honestly, like, the biggest turning point in the series has been Jrue Holiday's absence. And in my opinion, that to me, that is like the reason why the Magic have been able to be competitive in games 3 and 4, besides coming home, which always gives you a little bit of a boost too.
Sure.
It feels like to me the Magic are exiting this series knowing we've got not just 2 all-star level players, but we got 2 guys that are going to show up for us in the biggest moments, in the biggest games.
Yeah, losing Holiday is really not the best thing for Boston. He was so impactful when you look at games 1 and 2. In like he made the difference in those first 2 games, where whenever Boston was making their runs and looking like the Celtics, he was in the middle of that. And the Celtics haven't been able to really bother Paolo Banchero the same way since Holiday went down. I mean, he's just so his ability to absorb contact, dish out contact, get quick hands, disrupting dribbles, all of that stuff. It's a little bit different. And look, shout out to Peyton Pritchard for actually holding his own in a lot of these situations, like better than I thought. It's still not Jrue Holiday, but when I look at
more than that with Jrue Holiday, just to not to cut in too much.
Go.
The biggest difference for me is Orlando's trying to like control tempo and play faster. Jrue Holiday, because Orlando just doesn't have a natural point guard, and certainly not an elite level one that can deal with Jrue Holiday defense. When Holiday gets into the backcourt and picks up full court, it just gums everything up.
Yeah.
And obviously he's out for game 5 now too. They ultimately may not need him, but that to me was the biggest difference between games 1 and 2 and games 3 and 4 is Orlando was able to get a little bit of a flow offensively because they were able to just bring the ball up the court more comfortably than they did when Jrue was out there.
For sure. And so I look at what I expected and what's actually happening. I expected the Boston offense to run a little bit more smoothly. I expected the Orlando defense to be good, but I honestly, I said this in my last podcast, the post game 4, the Magic are executing their game plan about as well as any team. If you were just to take all of the playoff teams and say, this is what your plan was, how closely are you sticking to the plan? I think Orlando might be the most closely like, this is what we've wanted to do. We're doing it, and we're doing it better than maybe even Orlando expected.
I agree with that.
I feel like if I'm on the Orlando side of things, I'm like, man, Jamal Mosley's the dude. Like he's the guy, and he's getting these guys to take these guys forward. And I don't know whether there were ever any questions about that, but I think of, I'm coming out of this series with a strong level of respect for what Orlando is able to do without Jalen Suggs, right? Without Mo Wagner, without key guys that who knows how they would have impacted the series, but I expected it to be a little easier.
Let's put it this way. If Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner were healthy, this is a second round series. Like the Magic are not the 7th.
They're not.
Let's leave that right there. I would say the Magic have really been very disciplined in how they defend the 3-point line and not coming off the shooters. Like game 1, they got loose with it. They crashed out on some. They're finding the right moments to crash down and leave shooters. And usually it's kind of later in the game when maybe the Celtics are a little bit out of rhythm and the game's gotten clunky enough that they're a little more confident that, okay, the rhythm's not there. But I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Like the biggest surprise to me is that Boston hasn't shot as well. Certainly the last 2 games, they did not shoot as well as I think their looks would dictate. Now they're getting fewer looks. And so that allows some variance, like if Boston takes 47 threes and they make 33%, 34% of them, that's probably 12, 13, 14. And that's probably too much for the Magic to catch up with and deal with because they're only taking 33, 32, 27, that's 9. And that's a number that even the Magic can match. And so I think the Magic being able to match that 3-point number is what's helped keep these games closer. Obviously, like game 1, it feels like the outlier and feels like the game where the Celtics played the most like the Celtics, but even that took them some time to find their rhythm. Orlando, I think, has been really, really disciplined in how they defend the 3-point line. And the Magic players, Paolo talked about this after game 4, specifically about the late stage of that game, how Boston kind of baited them into shots that they didn't want to take. I feel like throughout this series, Orlando's done a very good job kind of forcing this, for lack of a better way to phrase it, forcing the Celtics to play like the Magic, this very ISO heavy
100%.
offense, this like pick your matchup and go at him. We're going to force you to mid-range jumpers. We're going to dare, we're going to put a small on Kristaps Porzingis and say, go to the basket. And honestly, like, if not for foul trouble in game 4, the Celtics probably win that game running away because Porzingis was finally attacking the basket. Orlando had to shift how they were defending because he was finally rolling to the rim and trying to play at the rim rather than kind of turning around, doing hooks and shots that he should make. I think Porzingis is probably not very happy with how he's played overall in this series.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But those are shots that he should be making, and shots the Magic are just kind of like that's what you have to concede when you're playing an offense like Boston. You got to pick what you're going to give up. And I think Orlando has just been very happy to trade to give up 2s instead of 3s, as long as those 2s are contested mid-range shots, as long as they're kind of the shots they want them to take. And, again, the Celtics are good enough that they're going to make some of those shots like that Jayson Tatum fadeaway that made it a 6-point game in game 4. That's a shot the Magic are happy with him taking. He's going to make that. He's going to make that and make those in big spots.
Yeah. I think the Magic defense is making the Celtics see ghosts a little bit on the floor. And that plays into some of the misses and some of why it makes you
doubt yourself.
It does. It does. I think it's bothering the Celtics. I'll get into that. Let me explain why I think, especially Porzingis has been bothered by that. Ultimately, probably a good thing. But what Orlando's defense is doing to Boston and why I completely misread the third quarter watching it live. I'll talk about all that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. If you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where all your money went, you need Monarch Money. We've all done that before, right? And it really ends up being online shopping or dining out or entertainment, whatever it is. You can lose track, but Monarch Money is your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. Monarch Money, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So just stop managing your money. Start building wealth. You can really look at the nitty-gritty. How much are you spending on food delivery? How much are you spending on food in general? A big expense for me, for sure. And you don't have to juggle multiple apps. You can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. If you're managing money with a partner, it's super smooth. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without all that stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen, or Locked On Magic your first listen. Really happy to have you on board both shows. Make sure that you are checking out Locked On NBA Game Night every night until the champion is crowned, which I hope to be covering live at some point, still in play. You can get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night, and I'm there on Fridays with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. Find it wherever you find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. So when I looked at the third quarter, when I was watching it live, I'm like, man, the Celtics are just going ISO, ISO, ISO. But it wasn't really. I think it was more of a make-miss quarter than I gave Boston credit for. I think they were actually trying to find certain things. I was really, really impressed with some of the things that Orlando was doing defensively. There was one play where we talk about the Celtics need to run more off-ball action, and they did. And it set up a perfect Jayson Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis alley-oop. You had Derek White on the top left, running what looked like a pick and roll with Jaylen Brown. That was a diversion. On the right wing, Jayson and KP were doing their thing, and Jayson gets the ball. It looks like two are going to the ball, but it ends up being a veer, a late switch. I forget who it was that went over to Porzingis. And then all of a sudden, there's Jayson Tatum with the ball and time running off the clock. And now he's in the middle of the paint, going away because he was expecting to throw the lob. He's trying to draw the defense to throw the lob, and now he's going away from the rim. And now everybody's covered. And I think at first blush, we can look at a game and be like, a situation like that was Jayson just being ISO. And really, that was the Celtics working very hard and the Magic going, nope, we're not giving you anything. Once Jayson gets the ball, we're okay. We are just going to be okay with he's going to have to create. And it sounds insane to say we're okay with Jayson Tatum creating, but what ends up happening is you've given yourselves a chance. The Magic offense isn't good enough to take advantage of that. But as I said before, the game plan is actually working. You're giving yourselves a chance. It's just there's no way to capitalize on those chances because KCP isn't hitting a thing. You're getting
anyone outside of Paolo or Franz you don't know what you're going to get, and you can't create because Boston's defense is so good, and they don't have to worry about the shooting as much. Paolo and Franz are in a situation where they don't always trust their teammates to make those shots, and again, this is the difference between Boston and Orlando, and what Orlando has to kind of try and has successfully in many cases done is make Tatum and Brown not trust or not see their teammates who are open or make the window to make that pass to get them in rotation is just so small and so quick. It takes Wendell Carter tripping on a screen to get that Porzingis lob that on that huge play. It takes like a slip up. And look, it is really hard to play this kind of defense for 48 minutes. Yeah. And in the moments when the Magic are slipping, like the beginning of the third quarter, game one, beginning of the third quarter, game two, the fourth part of the fourth quarter in game three, that the Magic, and this has been the story all year for the Magic, the offense just doesn't sustain enough, and the defense kind of buckles and collapses. It braces a little bit. Some water gets through the dam, whatever. You want to use. It's a slow trickle, but it can be enough because, especially in this kind of a game, the offense just isn't there. Like, Paolo took 32 shots. Franz took 22. No one else had more than 8. The shot profile in game 4 was very similar to game 1. And when you become that one-dimensional, when the ball doesn't move that much, it just becomes difficult. And some of it is like, they're right. How can I trust Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who shot 34% from 3, has made, 4 3-pointers, 5 3-pointers the entire series so far? How can I trust him to make that shot? How can I trust to move the ball? And on top of that, Boston's also very good about playing passing lanes and being disciplined and staying in areas where they can wall off the paint, but also get back to shooters. It's again, a lot of credit. Orlando's offense is bad, but we also have to give a lot of credit to Boston's defense. They have played a very strong defensive series as well.
KCP is 4 of 16 from 3. Just to hammer home your point. No, like but this is the difference, right? The difference is there's one play, a Derek White 3-pointer, late third quarter. They're running a pick and roll. I think it's with Porzingis, and Corey Joseph just he forgets for a second. And he takes one step too far.
Yep.
And two guys go to KP, and now Corey Joseph understands that. He's like, oh, nope, I'm supposed to stay. Too late. Derek White hits the 3-pointer, and you're like, oh man, like you can see him like, that was on me.
It's that you can feel like, especially in that building, in the Kia Center, you could feel like the like air rushing out of the balloon a little bit. Like just they have to be so on point.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's plays like that. It's like Paolo being a step too close. Like I think there's been several plays where Jonathan Isaac, whose instinct is I'm going to protect the rim and block the shot, but that means you're leaving Al Horford open in the corner. That means you're leaving someone open in the corner. Yeah. And, you know, like the Magic rely very heavily on the low man. That's a big part of their defense. Their low man kind of overplays to protect the rim, just provide a, you know, show another body. You can't do that against Boston because they're going to find that guy in the corner and you're not going to be able to close out in time, or, you know, you'll have to shift and then they'll pass to the wing and it'll be a swing. This is why the Celtics are a championship team.
Yeah.
You have to pick what you're going to give up, and you still have to be perfect to make up for it. And especially a team like Orlando that, you know, I don't know if we're going to get to the physicality of everything in this series in the third segment or not, or coming up here. The Magic have to like kind of hold this team down, like limiting possessions, making this thing as ugly as possible, being willing to foul just to knock guys out of rhythm. It's not even so much about they're just fouling to foul. They're fouling because you don't want to see the ball go through the hoop almost. You want them to think twice about going in the paint. They have to do, you know, it's been said everywhere. Teams that muck games up like this are doing it because they have a talent deficit. The Magic have a talent deficit. They can't score 120 points. They've done a good job. The Celtics have scored 110 once in this series, if I'm not mistaken. The Magic haven't hit 100 this series, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
109 was Boston.
109. Yeah. So like they have to play this way to give themselves a chance. And, you know, as much as we're praising the Magic's defense and lamenting the Celtics offense, if I'm not mistaken, Boston has like a 117 offensive rating in the series. It doesn't feel like it because the scores are so low. But the Celtics have found enough pockets to make the Magic hurt, and the Magic just don't have the force to keep up. It's all Paolo and Franz, and it's made what the Magic need to do this offseason just so blatantly obvious.
Yeah. Well, Boston, according to Basketball Reference, their offensive rating is 113.7. These are the ghosts that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Celtics, you know, for all the talk about how perfect you have to be, I think Porzingis, like he talked a little bit about it. The Celtics, when they catch in turn, they expect either someone to be there or to get hit. And sometimes they're open, but when you turn and you don't expect to be open, there's like and then those are the ghosts that I'm talking about. And that's why I think it's been hard for the Celtics to get on some of these runs. The runs, the opportunity for extended runs have been there. Right. And I think this is where when I talk about optimism and pessimism, the optimism for me is I see Celtics runs just sitting there. They haven't hit the shots to make that happen. I'll explain that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. I've talked about this. Half my house is Wayfair. My wife, whenever she wants to redecorate a little bit, I can tell my texts end up being a bunch of Wayfair links. And you know what? Spring is here, so it's home project season. So if you want to refresh a room, tackle a full renovation, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. So if you want something small like a stylish cabinet, hardware change, or maybe like a major upgrade, new vanity, outdoor lighting, Wayfair has quality products for every budget. Their free and fast shipping makes everything easy. No hauling heavy items from the store. I know they've got the top brands like GE and Moen at great prices. Shopping is super seamless. You find exactly what you want to fit your space, to fit your style. And it's very easy to share with one another. Like I said, my wife and I can spend all day going back and forth. What about this couch? What about that couch? What about this look? What about that look? So it's super easy, and Wayfair makes it very easy to begin that home improvement project. Get started now at wayfair.com. That's Wayfair. Wayfair.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. All right, thanks everybody for making Locked On Celtics, Locked On Magic your first listens. If it's not your first listen, or if it is, make the opposite one your second listen. This is a great opportunity. It's the power of this network. So if you're a Magic fan, come join me. And let me tell you something. I see you in the comments of my YouTube page.
Yeah,
There's a lot of you.
We need to like. I hope after this series ends, we can all be friends again. Like it's the playoffs are heated. Like this is
you're whining about the physicality, Boston fans. Stop it. And like, yeah. And then Celtics fans like, this is the dirtiest team ever. These guys, oh my God, why don't you just get the spiked fat?
If John and I can be friends, you all can be friends too. We're gonna like honestly, like like we've talked about this a lot and somewhat to player annoyance, actually. Like we all kind of see the Paolo Franz duo as like the next iteration of the Tatum Jaylen Brown duo. And so we see like the Magic fans see the Magic growing in the same like direction, the same way that the Celtics grew and developed as a team and into a contender. And guess what? These two teams are going to see each other in the playoffs again. Tatum and Brown are too young. Paolo and Franz are too young. The Celtics are the gatekeepers to the title. This is going to happen again. And so, you know, it's just be prepared for it. And all this bad blood may still be there. I don't even know if it's bad blood. I think there's some gamesmanship going on. Honestly, like I'd be curious what you think about this, John. I think some of the talk is the Celtics are like, we're the 2 seed. Why are we playing this team? Why is our reward for being the 2 seed playing a team that probably should be the 4 or the 5, defends really hard? Like we wanted an easy 5 games.
Yeah, we wanted Atlanta.
We wanted Trae Young to have that one game where he goes off, and that's the courtesy that we give them.
I just watched the Cavs beat the Miami Heat by 2,000 points. Like, where was that?
We can all celebrate that, right?
I think everybody here is happy about that. Ding dong, the Heat are dead.
Heat are dead.
I think the Florida teams will all be done by the end of.
I suspect so too.
By the end of Tuesday, early Wednesday morning. But
knowing how long these games go, it will be Wednesday morning.
It'll be Thursday by the time this thing's done. Yeah. My optimism for the Celtics is, again, I rewatched. I almost feel bad, like. And I don't know why I was so far off. My feeling about the third quarter of Game 4 was so negative for the Celtics. And then I just finished rewatching, and I was like, that wasn't that bad. The Celtics lost that quarter by 1, but it's like, man, if they just, first of all, if they just hit a couple of shots that were open.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, right. And I think if they get those shots at home, there might be a little bit more of, you know, and it starts with Peyton Pritchard and getting some more from Sam Hauser. It's more figuring out, you know, the right combinations for Porzingis pick and rolls. Like, I have come to the conclusion that you shouldn't run Porzingis pick and roll with Jayson Tatum, because Tatum generally has a bigger defender and they're just going to switch that anyway. So you got to run your pick and roll with Porzingis with.
You got to switch Gary Harris. You got to switch Gary Harris or Corey Joseph or Cole Anthony, or, you know, and the Magic are switching less now than they did earlier in the series. I think especially with the way Porzingis was attacking the rim early in that game. I think they've decided we can't afford to have Corey Joseph be the main defender, because we can't crack down because of the shooting. You know, it's just, they're starting to switch a little bit less on that specific action. But if it's a Tatum Porzingis pick and roll, they're cool with Paolo or Franz guarding Porzingis, and they're very comfortable with Wendell Carter. I mean, Wendell Carter, the Celtics have targeted him a little bit, and Jaylen Brown's gotten shots over him. Tatum's gotten shots over him, but for a center guarding those players in space, I honestly, like, I think Wendell Carter's had an awesome defensive series. He's held his own. It's not a favorable matchup, and he's gotten beat a few times. He's committed a few fouls. It hasn't been perfect. But, like, Wendell Carter's been the linchpin of this whole defense. His ability to defend out on the perimeter. And Magic fans have been banging on him because his shooting's not been what it needs to be. He's very kind of limited as a center in the paint because he's just not an above-the-rim player. But his defense, I think, has been as important as anything else the Magic have had to stay in some of these games.
Yeah, so I still think that with all of that, the Celtics still have opportunities
Yeah.
to hit shots. They are they're shooting where are their percentages here?
You don't want to look at it.
44.5% overall and less than 35% from three, which is it's not Celtics basketball. That's not their passing has dropped off a cliff because they the Magic have been cutting off a lot of those kickouts and all of that stuff. The Celtics know that they need to move the ball a little bit more. I think maybe game 5 there might be a little bit of an opportunity for the Celtics to just kind of be like put them away, and I just don't know.
It go for it.
I was going to say, I don't know if the Magic are going to have that fight for the full 48.
Yeah, like we've all seen these elimination games, especially these road elimination games. There comes a point in every one of those games where the team, must like I don't think any of us think the Magic are going to be playing from ahead. It's going to be a tight nip and tuck battle. If the Magic win the game, it's going to be because it's very, very tight. They're not going to come out, shoot, 50% from three, make 15 threes and blow the game open. Like that's just, there is a universe where that happens. The odds of it being this universe are very, very low. There comes a point in every single one of these elimination games where the winning team lays that heavy punch, that one last run, go up by 12, 15. The coach calls a timeout to try and slow it down, and the will just goes away and it's just gone.
Yeah.
And the Magic have always been very good. Like the thing that defines this team is that they don't quit. They could have lost by 20, 25 in game 1. They really, I think, fought hard. I know they still lost by 17, but they fought hard. Game 2, they lost by 10. And now that game probably should have been a 15, 20 point game. Like for the most part, they'll play to the final whistle. And there are honestly a lot of opportunities. They could have folded in game 3, heading into the half down 10. There are several moments where like they couldn't just get over that hill in game 4, and Boston could have like put together those shots to bury them. It does feel like that's how game 5 is going to go. It's probably going to be very similar to game 4, where it's like nip and tuck within 5, 6, 7 points for most of the first half. And then Boston's going to hit a run where they go up by double digits. And the Magic are going to have to ask themselves the question, do we still want to do this? Like we've had to be perfect. Like game 4, Paolo looked gassed. Like Paolo Banchero just looked tired.
Yeah.
A lot of his shots were falling short. And you could just kind of see the mental and physical strain on him. And I still think like Paolo and Franz will probably get their numbers. They'll get 20, 25 points each. Can they get the 60 combined that they need to win this game and keep the team in it? Because, it becomes like now you're desperate. Now you're, now you're trying to do stuff that you don't normally do, like the Magic did at the end of game 4. When they were trying desperately to get back in that game with some trapping and some other things to speed the game up. And that's how these things go. Like it's not, the Magic could lose by 25 and it's not indicative of how close or far this series is. It's just, we all see Cancun on the horizon. It's human nature. It sucks.
Sure,
no one likes it, but we all, when vacation's on the way, we see it.
The one thing, and this is going to be the line that pisses off Magic fans. What I don't want to see is the frustration foul.
I don't want to see that either.
You know what I mean?
Look, I'll make Celtics fans happy. There have been some straight shoves that the Magic have done that they should not be doing. Like there's some hip check. There's been some hip check fouls.
This has been a 32-minute trap. You got it. You admitted it.
No, there have definitely been some hip check fouls, and there's definitely been,
for sure.
Like the flagrant fouls were, kind of hard playoff fouls. Those happen, but yeah, there's been little hip checks, little bumps, little bruises. The Magic they are definitely doing them intentionally. They're not to the level of a flagrant foul, but they're there to bother the Celtics. They're there to do that. I agree. I do not, if it's if the thing is getting away from them, no cross checking, no
Yeah.
decking guys, nothing risky. At that point, it's just just get to the end of the game, and give Caleb Houston his dunk. That's all we want at the end of the game.
Yeah.
If you don't know that story, we should all be cheering for Caleb Houston to get his first dunk if it comes to that.
We should all be cheering for it. All right. Well, appreciate you, man. Thank you. I'll see you at the arena.
Yep. It's been a pleasure. This has been if this is the end, maybe it's not, but if this is the end, this has been a fantastic series. I'm sure Boston feels like they have learned a lot about themselves for the rest of their journey. Hopefully they get some time to be healthy. So go Pistons. And I think the Magic have learned a lot as they continue to develop and grow into what they hope will be a title contending team, but you just never know with these things. So I think it's been a productive series for both franchises.
I'm going to wrap it up by throwing the Magic fans a bone. I've been on the Magic bandwagon for a couple of years. I know you haven't caught the right breaks. Ton of respect. As much as I've complained about the hard fouls, I know that that's part of the plan. And if the situation was reversed, I'd be celebrating it if Boston had to do it. I think Magic are in a good place. I think Mosley's a good coach. He's got them playing super hard. So no matter how this goes, a ton of respect to the Magic for how they've played. This is if it's a 4-1 series, definitely didn't feel like it was 4-1. So a ton of respect to the Magic fans showing out in the comments, because you got to support your team. So,
yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Appreciate it, guys.
Always good talking to PR Squared there. We have fun. This is, again, I really do have a lot of respect for the Magic. I think this has been a really tough series. I think the Celtics are going to be better for it. There's no team that's going to be playing defense this tough against the Celtics. I mean, you're going through a gauntlet, a 5-game, hopefully it's 5 games, gauntlet, and you're facing the Knicks potentially next. That's like, you're going to feel like you're going through tissue paper on that. Even the Cavs tough defense, even the OKC tough defense, it's different, but it's not as crazy physical as this. So this is a great beginning to this playoff run. The Celtics are going to be set up, I think, pretty well moving forward. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll be here for all of it from beginning to end, from Celtics beating the Magic to the championship. We hope, to the parade. We hope. I'll be here for you all summer long throughout it all. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast, watch the show on YouTube. Like I said, get into that comment section. Let those Magic fans know that Celtics fans aren't taking any of that stuff. And I would love it if you shared the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.